Okay, joining us here on our weekly Ford call is Cole Custer, driver of the number 00 Haas Tooling Ford Mustang in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Cole headed back to his home state of California, where he's won 2 of the last 3 Xfinity races at Auto Club Speedway. And Cole, let me just kick it off there. I mean, we don't get out to the West Coast a whole heck of a lot, so I know you look forward, especially at the beginning of the year, to be able to go back there and just kind of, I'm sure, see some family and friends. Just your thoughts going into Saturday's race.
Yeah, I mean, I always look forward to Fontana. It's always been a good track to me. Obviously, we've won 2 races there in the Xfinity cars, so it's always been good to me, and it's always been one of my favorite tracks. Just how you're able to, it's fast, it's wore out, you're slipping and slide around. You have a lot of options as a driver, so you're able to figure out something maybe better than the next guy, and how to figure out how to get around him and everything. So it's always been a fun track for me. And coming back home, it means a ton too. Obviously, this year with the Xfinity cars, there's a little bit of a rule change. So we're kind of taking that in and trying to figure out what we need for this weekend. But we've done a lot of digging. We've worked really hard on it, and now we just got to see how everything unfolds.
Yep. All right. If you've got a question for Cole, raise your hand. I know I've got plenty of questions, but this isn't my time. This is your time. So let's kick it off with John Newby. Go ahead, John.
Thank you so much. Cole, I was mostly wondering how the first week went working alongside Riley and what that communication is like going forward towards Fontana.
Yeah, it went really good. Honestly, I mean, I think, this year, working with Riley, it's been a lot of fun so far. I think we've worked very well together and communicated very well. We honestly have a pretty good atmosphere at the team right now, where we work as one group. We communicate a lot. We're able to really kind of bounce ideas off each other. It's one of the best environments I think I've seen with that. We're able to work together a lot. So we just got to keep digging throughout the year. This is really the first race of the year where you're able to really see what everybody's got for the season, because it's a big racetrack where aerodynamics and handling and everything pretty much comes into play. So you find out a lot coming into this weekend, and we just got to adapt fast and work as a team to make everything better and see what we have when we unload here.
Perfect. Thank you.
Well, I'm just curious too, in terms of the team makeup, because obviously you added an Xfinity team from last year. So what's the makeup between the 2 teams, between you and Riley, and just crew guys? I mean, do we have lots of experience? Did he keep his team? Just kind of what's that makeup like right now?
Yeah, so I mean, Riley's team is pretty much intact from last year with Richard Boswell as the crew chief. And then my team is a lot of new guys. It was actually really good to go to Daytona, and we didn't have any problems. We had good speed. As a new team and new guys all working together, it's really nice to just have a smooth weekend and have things kind of work out good, and everybody worked together great. So and I have JT as my crew chief this year, so I really love JT. I mean, I've worked around him for a long time. He's been at Stewart Haas Racing and Haas CNC Racing before that. So I've known him since I was a little kid. And he's just a no ego, super laid back guy, super easy to talk with. And I think it's going to be really good for us this year just to work together and figure out how we can get the speed that we need in the cars.
So he's just like you, super laid back, easygoing guy. You guys are kind. Let's go to Mitchell Brewer. Hey, Mitchell.
Hey, thanks for your time today, Cole. First question for you: with how the forecast looks for this weekend at Auto Club Speedway, how does that change your preparation for the weekend? Does that affect your mindset at all, knowing that Saturday kind of looks not so great weather-wise right now?
The biggest thing about that is that, you don't have any time to practice, maybe if we don't, with the rain. So you really got to put emphasis on your notes and look back on where we need to start, setup wise, and make sure I'm, as ready as I need to be, just to make sure that I hit lap 1 as hard as I can. But it makes it, a little bit more nerve wracking because you don't have that practice time to dial your car in. So with this new rule change, it's going to be a little bit of an educated guess, with if we don't get any practice time. So it'll be interesting for sure.
And I was just curious, with this being one of your better tracks, what are your thoughts on the potential reconfiguration of Auto Club Speedway?
I hate to see it, I mean, it's been a good track for me. And I think it honestly has put on some of the best racing that we see in NASCAR, the last, 5 or 6 years. So, I hate to see it maybe go. But obviously this weekend, I think we kind of get a reminder of, what difficulties it has with weepers and stuff like that. So hopefully we don't have to fight them too bad. But I think it's one of the best tracks that we go to. So it's going to be hard to say goodbye.
Thank you.
All right, if you've got a question for Cole, raise your hand. Cole, what would you like to see? I mean, if they're going to get rid of that 2 mile, is there a certain kind of track, a certain size? I know we've heard a lot of talk about a 1/2 mile track. What does that area need in your opinion? Does it need a small track? Does it need a 1/2 mile, 1/4 mile, 3/8 of a mile? What do you think?
Oh, I mean, that's everybody has a different opinion on that, so it's hard to say. But for me, I mean, I think, they have some good short tracks around there. They have Irwindale, they have Kern County. So they have some good short track racers over there. And I think, when you look at some of the best racing that we put on, I mean, it's honestly the track it is right now. It's wore out, it's fast. People are able to move around the whole racetrack. So it's exciting. But it's really hard to make that kind of racing with a repave. So it usually takes about, 10 years or so for the pavement to wear out. So it's hard to say. I think if you can go down the route of trying to get a 1.5 miles that has some character to it, though, that makes it a lot of fun, where you can move around the track and run the wall and make something different happen.
Got it. I see Claire B. Lang with her hand raised. Claire B., the floor is yours.
Thank you. Let me ask you, my camera is giving me fits today, so I'm going to ask for a blank Claire Lang on the note there. But I do want to ask, Cole, moving into Xfinity and getting a solid top 10, you kind of feel like a lot of pressure going into the start of the season, and you think, okay, that's done. How much pressure did you put on yourself, and how much easier do you feel about heading to Auto Club, where you finished so well?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of expectations this year. We want to go out there and run good and compete for wins every single race. So there's definitely, we thought about just about everything, going to Daytona, making sure we had everything checked and everything going right. So it was nice to hit the track and have a solid weekend and have nothing go wrong, and have good speed in the car. And obviously Daytona, it's a little bit of you got to have a little bit of luck on your side. So sometimes you don't get the finish that you want, but I feel like we had a solid weekend, and now we just gotta, keep that going into Fontana. And I think we have a good group that really wants to work together and really wants to, just communicate extremely well. And I think, if we can do that and just make sure that we get everything checked and cross all the T's and dot all the I's before the weekends, I think we'll have a lot of shots to win races.
And as you head to California, a track you're really good at, how do you gauge the level of competition? You raced in Xfinity, now you're back in Xfinity, but a lot of people are talking about how talented you are. And, you probably put your mind on the fact that you got to go there and, set the world on fire. So, how would you gauge the competition or the way they race between Xfinity and, say, Cup? How do you lay that down?
I think the biggest thing is just the competition level. On a bad day in Xfinity, you're probably going to run around 10th, in Cup on a bad day, you're going to run 25th to 30th. So there's a lot more, there's just less, a little bit less guys out there, I guess, that are competing for wins. But at the same time, the top 5 guys, they're still just as good as guys in the Cup Series. So it's not easy. It's never going to be easy. So we got to make sure that we're, doing everything we can to, be prepared for the weekend, because all those other guys, they're not just going to lay over. It's not easy to win races, and we got to make sure that we are doing everything in our power to put ourselves in that position.
How much have you stepped it up, knowing the pressure is on you? I mean, because you've always raced at the top,
it just goes back to, I think, the group around you. I mean, I think it's been really nice working with JT, and just kind of, he has the same kind of mindset. I think, this is his first time being a full-time crew chief. And I think we've worked really well with communicating and just really being honed in on what we need to do this year, which is go and compete for wins every weekend. And we're, I've never probably had as many or asked as many questions to a person in my life, just making sure we're prepared, and every single detail is thought of. And it's definitely, it's been a great relationship so far. And we just got to hit the ground running here in Fontana.
Good luck in doing that. Thanks for stopping. All right.
Thank you, guys.
But to Claire's point, following up on that, I'm just kind of curious because I mean, your role as a leader of that team, you said you've got a lot of new crew guys and also, do you find yourself maybe being more vocal? You just had 1 week, but in terms of communication, are you that guy who's kind of being vocal during practice and qualifying and adjustments, that kind of thing, maybe more so than you have been the last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, I think so a little bit for sure. I mean, I'm now, I guess I'm the experienced guy,
Right.
but which is kind of weird because I don't think I've ever been that in my career. But it's definitely it's interesting to be kind of more in that leader role, and it's something that I can probably work on and get a little bit better. So it's been fun so far. And at the same time, part of it is that yes, you want to be super involved and you want to make sure everything's right and everything, but you have to let people do what they are meant to do. Also, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a crew chief, so I can put a little bit of my input of what I'm looking for and things that have worked and not worked for me in the past. But at the end of the day, I mean, you got to let the people around you do what their specialty is.
Totally get that. I'll ask anyone if they've got any questions, any follow-up questions for Cole. Otherwise, we will let him go. Kelly Crandall. Hey, Kelly.
Hey Dan, hey Cole. You mentioned this rule change with the Xfinity Series a couple times now. I'm curious, did your team do the test at Charlotte?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so what was your first feel with this rule change? Because it's been interesting to hear drivers talk about how differently the car drives.
Yeah, it was a big shock to everybody. I think it was really, we looked at it, before the season, it was just a skew change, and it really shouldn't have been that big of a deal, it seems like. But we went to Charlotte, and I think about everybody had the same comment of, the cars are harder to drive. They're a little bit more on edge. So we'll see if that's just a Charlotte thing, or we'll see if that's how the whole year is going to progress. But there might be a lot of, changes that we have to make throughout this year to make the cars handle how we want to. So it's just kind of, we're limited on track time, obviously, and practicing and stuff like that. So it's a lot of, we're gonna have to adapt at the racetrack as much as we can, and week to week, really dig deep in what we need to do.
So is this something to where maybe we'll go to certain racetracks and it's going to be easier for drivers to kind of step over the edge with this car?
It seemed like that at the test, it's going to be, it's hard to say, we still don't know if it's a Charlotte thing or not, because it's really hard to have tests at Charlotte at times, even though it's nice because it's right in our backyard. But that track changes so much, just with weather and temperatures. So it's just we kind of have to go to Fontana and really figure out what is going on. But it seems like, yeah, it could have that characteristic of, being a little bit more on edge, and we're gonna have to figure out how to manage that.
All right, Kelly, thank you. Cole, I know you know how to get to victory lane at Auto Club Speedway. So best of luck this weekend and getting back there again. And we appreciate you taking a few minutes this afternoon to answer some questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right, everyone. Appreciate you joining the call. We'll schedule another guest here for next week. I'll work up a transcript and I'll get that out here shortly. All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining.